Wisteria, energy, twister.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Wisteria here as we continue Haunted Yorkshire. We're heading over to the famous Stocks Bridge, and all you have to do is really type this in Google. Believe me, many things will come up. There are many different classifications of ghosts throughout the world, based on location, the type of phenomena and the experiences of people afflicted. These include poltergeists, doppelgangers, which are doubles, and a whole host of more traditional hauntings, such as grey ladies, monks, highwaymen, black dogs, and so forth. One other phenomenon reported in several locations across Yorkshire, or Yorkshire, as well as further afield, could be described as the road ghost. This category includes such apparitions as phantom hitchhikers who are picked up by motorists and promptly disappear before the confines of a locked car, ghost cars and other vehicles that appear from nowhere, and even sometimes, unfortunately, they do cause fatal crashes. The Stocks Bridge bypass was opened in 1988, and for several years, the many accidents on the new stretch of road, some were definitely fatal, were explained as being caused by driver error, bad street lighting, faulty design of the highway. That is, until one motorist came forward to tell of the figure in black, resembling a hooded monk, that had glided into the path of his car. But this was only the first of many reports of this strange figure dashing in front of vehicles, causing them to swerve erratically, and often they were involved in accidents. A team of Sheffield bus inspectors from the city's main line bus company investigated the incidents, and one of their number, bus inspector and medium Dave Williamson, claimed to have contacted the spirit of the monk and helped him pass on. Reports still filter in from time to time, however, of a similar figure running across the roads on this busy 7-mile stretch of highway. So maybe it's time for the investigator to make a renewed approach. The Paroyd Bridge originally formed part of an ancient causeway that was disrupted by the building of Stocks Bridge bypass. The ghostly children that had been reported in the area are another phenomenon connected with the road. Pa Heathcote was bewildered to watch a group of 5 or 6 boys and girls dressed in old-fashioned pinafores and breeches, dancing together in a circle, as if around an invisible maypole, in a field above the new bridge. Barbara Lee, licensee of the Mid-Hopeston Arms, also watched them from her window for several minutes and was amazed when they suddenly disappeared. It's also important to mention that there are reports that the children have been heard singing Ring a Roses, a pocket full of posies, a tissue, we all fall down. That nursery rhyme is about the plague killing people. Very old English nursery rhyme, but it's definitely about the plague. And it's also been noted that that's the song that they hear if they do hear the children. They hear Ring a Roses in a very, very disturbing way, might I add. So now we're going to head to Wortley. At Christmas 1963, Mr. G. Hem Wood of Huddersfield and his brother were driving back from a party at Tankersley, a village between Sheffield and Barnsley. It was late at night, Mr. Wood told me, one of those beautiful, clear nights, and the road was glistening with a fine white frost. We had just negotiated the sharp S-bend around Wortley Church on the A629 when a figure which seems to be dressed in black, the way a vicar might dress, suddenly appeared directly in front of the car. I immediately applied the brakes, skidded to a halt, but the figure had just vanished, and I was convinced it would have been beneath my car. My brother and I nervously searched for the victim, but it was nowhere to be seen. We looked all around the road and the pavement. The figure had completely vanished. However, this was not the end of the matter. We never forgot the incident and spoke about it often over the years. Then about 30 years later, I read a national newspaper that apparently during the building of the Stocks Bridge bypass, the A616, about a quarter of a mile from our original experience, the construction team had refused to continue on account of a frequent appearance of a ghostly figure in a black monk-like garb. I believe an exorcism service had to be held before work could recommence. Later, I read that the research had discovered that a small monastery had existed in that area in the Middle Ages. I have no explanation for the above. I only know that our experience is etched into the memory of my brother and myself, and we will never doubt that for some things, well, there's just no explanation. Is it possible that the lanes near Wortley share the same spirit that was seen on Stocksbridge bypass? I guess it's possible. You never know. Now we're going to head to the realms of East Yorkshire. First stop's Beverley. When former policeman Mally Talbot was running the Lady Ligros in Norwood Road, he came to believe that a landlord from the late 19th century, Samuel Peacock, was haunting his pub. The ghost, who was seen by Sue, Mally's wife, appeared as an elderly Victorian gent who was wont to stride across the room and vanish through the fire escape. On one occasion, barman Andy Brown said he freaked out after he heard footsteps following him to the cellar and then to the bar. He then retraced his steps to find there was no one there. No one had been there. Sam, as the ghost was nicknamed, was not much of a nuisance and often helped Sue Talbot when she was cleaning. If I went towards the door with a vacuum cleaner, the door opened and stayed open to let me through. It didn't worry me at all, she recalled. Interesting. A helpful ghost. So now we're still in Beverley, but now we're going to the King's Head. The fireplace in the restaurant of the King's Head Hotel in Marketplace is the centre of the paranormal activity at this inn. Landlord Paul Brooks said he couldn't believe his eyes one evening when he saw a man in a tweed suit leaning nonchalantly against it, only to disappear suddenly and without discernible movement. The ghost is believed to be a soldier who committed suicide in the stables of the pub that once stood on the site. The former Packhorse Inn and the restaurant of King's Head is located where the stables used to be. Paul's wife, Tricia, had also seen the figure, once mistaking it for a customer who seemed to have been left behind when the pub was locked up at night. On another occasion, she thought the man was one of the waiters, Andrew, and it wasn't until the ghost had disappeared that she remembered that Andrew had left 2 months previously. One of the waitresses saw the man and thought he was waiting for a menu, but in a second she turned round to get one for him and turned back. He disappeared. She added that it sometimes felt cold and creepy in that area of the restaurant by the fireplace, where you would presume that it would obviously always be warm. So to get a cold feeling there is rather weird. In 1995, a pensioner who had worked as a shorthand typist at St Mary's Manor in the 1940s recalled a number of odd things that had occurred during her employment there. At the time, the building housed the Royal Agricultural Executive Committee, and later the Ministry of Agriculture, and the woman, who did not want to be named, by the way, said that the phenomena was usually connected with a small filing room at the rear of the manor. A colleague claimed to have seen a figure sitting on the edge of the nearby desk, even though no one had entered and left the room while she was working there. Another colleague, who held a seance in the panelled area near the filing room, suffered a choking fit. Even though there was nothing wrong with her, she started making awful noises, the typist remembered. I've never heard anything like that or them that she made. Her colleague said that during the sitting, she had been contacted by a Chinese man and was convinced that something had happened to him in that room. Possibly even murder that was never identified. Who knows? We're still in Beverley, by the way, just different areas. In the 1980s, the mayor's parlour in the Beverley Gold Hole was reported to have been haunted by phantom footsteps, with all 9 members of the building team experiencing the phenomena. The team had been told not to let anyone into the building as they had been carrying out dangerous demolition work, and yet they continually heard footsteps, climbing the stairs and walking across the floorboards of the parlour. But when foreman Mark Jordan and bricklayer Charles Carmichael went to investigate, they found no one who could be responsible for the sounds. Another member of the team, joiner Trevor Grundy, was the first to hear the footsteps when he began removing the flooring in the mayor's parlour. Mr. Jordan also noticed the smell of strong cigar smoke on several occasions in the immediate vicinity, even though there was no one else close by, and certainly no one smoking a cigar. The most curious incident that happened to the team was during a tea break while they were listening to the radio. As said one of the men afterwards, the radio suddenly cut out, and the heavy footsteps, more like a man than a woman, began crossing the first floor above us. When they reached the other side of the room, the radio switched itself back on. The builders said they did not mind continuing the work, but always felt better when there was more than one of them in the building. Safety in numbers and all that malarkey. And I'm going to leave this part here. When we return, we are still in Beverley. We're just in different areas of Beverley right now. So yeah, I guess there's a lot of places in Beverley that's haunted. Thank you for listening. Please hit the like, share if you can, and consider subscribing, please. Many blessings.
Wisteria. Energy. Twister.